Activists say that their fight is not over, despite their win with the Supreme Court's decision. And that includes our next guest. Kristan Hawkins is president of Students for Life of America. The group is fighting to abolish all abortion in the U.S. Kristan, thanks so much for being here. So I've read that even as you celebrate this decision, you're still poised to take several more steps, including what we were just talking about, which is preventing women from getting those so-called abortion pills. But the Attorney General of the U.S. said on Friday that the DOJ will protect and preserve women's lawful access to that medication. So how do you plan to get around that?
Well, the Supreme Court said on Friday, unequivocally, that there is no right to abortion in the Constitution, and that this is a decision that's best to be dissolved at the state legislative level. And so we will be working state by state, and we have been working, for example, in South Dakota there, to pass laws to protect women from these dangerous pills that result in injury, infertility, and death, as well as the death of their preborn child. These are dangerous drugs. We know of over 24 women that have already died in America using these dangerous pills, despite the FDA removing all the safety REMS on these pills because the abortion industry used the COVID crisis.
I mean, there were, as the study that I have seen, there were 24 deaths attributed to these pills over 18 years. So the FDA has ruled that they're safe. And I mean, just to put that in context, there's something like 700 women a year that die from pregnancy complications.
Well, we don't actually have. I understand that, and we actually don't have a national abortion reporting law. So it's more dangerous to carry a child than to abort a child. Well, I think you can't make a comparison between abortion deaths and tragic deaths that, other tragic deaths that occur when a woman is pregnant, because we don't actually have a national abortion reporting law in our nation.
Okay, fair. So I'm just talking about how you were citing that it was dangerous to take the abortion pill. It's far more dangerous to carry a child and to birth a child.
We don't know that. We can't say it's far more dangerous because we don't have any comparable statistics, because we have no national abortion reporting law.
Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about the women who will cross state lines to get an abortion. So I know that you're talking to, I think, some legislatures in Missouri about what to do about that. I think you were quoted in the Washington Post as saying, look, if you travel out of state for an abortion, that abortionist can be held liable. How do you imagine policing that? How will you know if a woman is going from, say, Missouri to Illinois, for an abortion or to visit a relative?
There's a lot of different strategies being thrown around, questions about how to best protect women from these predatory abortionists who really financially profit off of the despair of women, as we heard in the earlier clip. And these are tragic circumstances for sure. I know there's been conversations about, ensuring that, if an abortionist is committing abortions against citizens of one state, that state may be able to say, look, we have an interest in protecting the preborn human beings in our state who are our citizens, as well as their mothers. And that is what the Supreme Court said on Friday, that states do have a legitimate interest in protecting preborn life, just like how we have a legitimate interest in protecting children from opioid abuse and things like that.
I understand, but how will you police it? How will you know if a woman's crossing the border to go get an abortion?
Well, there's been talk about using civil suits, similar to the landmark Texas heartbeat law, where, if a family member or a spouse knows of an abortionist who's preying upon a vulnerable woman who's committing an abortion, who's sending these dangerous pills without a woman ever even seeing a doctor to confirm she's not experiencing an at-risk, life-threatening ectopic pregnancy, that a civil suit could be brought. She could bring the civil suit upon the abortionist herself.
And what do you think should happen to doctors who perform abortions?
We've been very clear.
What should the punishment be?
We've been very clear in the pro-life movement that we believe it is a criminal offense to dismember human beings in the womb and prey upon vulnerable women who are the second victims of the abortion industry.
Kristan Hawkins, thank you for sharing your perspective and what you plan to do next. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on.